not. Still morning, yes. I'm not sure whether you can hear or see me, so not sure someone of the events can tell me that everything's correct. Okay, great. Thanks, Simeon. Yeah, thank you for having this opportunity. Workshop with a lot of presentation. We'll make it interactive where possible. Make culture tangible and start improving today. Let me introduce myself very briefly. I'm from Moebius, a consulting company in Belgium and the Netherlands and France, working out of the Netherlands. I have a background in the industry for over 30 years in chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and I was especially there in operational excellence and supply chain management. So we can chat later on in LinkedIn, etc. So it's not about me; it's about the presentation, of course. Yeah, let's start with this question first, or this topic first. Chop the elephant. I guess most of you have heard about this expression. If you chop the elephant, it's easier to eat it. And by cutting large initiatives into smaller pieces, which is often done, it might be easy to handle them too. But is it really? So I'll get back on the statement and at the end of the presentation. To make it a bit more interactive together, I would like to ask you to open your web browser via computer, tablet, cell phone, whatever you have next to you, and open your web browser and surf to slido.com. And there you asked for an event code, which is RTI from Roundtable Insights, and you can put in your name there so that we can see back. To make this a little live, let's make it one question. So this is a test statement in this respect. So how long have you been involved in operational excellence? So let me pull in that poll. Here you see also an RTI code. You can also scan with your phone. So yeah, this is just a test statement. It also gives me an impression about how long you have been working in operational excellence yourself. So it would be great if you can pull in some words there. Great. See 4 coming in now. Quite a few of you of those 4 have been involved in operational excellence longer than this. I see an audience larger than this, so please go ahead. I'll wait a few minutes more. Well, at least you are logging in now. It would be nice to have a bit more people, but anyway, it is what it is. So this is the concept. You will find a couple of times more than this, so I will provoke some questions, push some questions to you, and we can chat about those questions later on. Great. Let's close the poll for now. Get back to my presentation. Yeah, this is already an interesting one. If you look at research, and also I see that from own experiences, about only 1 out of 10, 11 operational excellence implementations are successful, and that's quite interesting because if you see that that many companies have an operational excellence initiatives called Lean Six Sigma, continuous improvement, whatever it's called. But it's interesting to see that so few are really successful with these programs and have these programs running after 7, 8 years. So here you see that most of those companies are based ceased operating even, but abandoned Lean or trying to re-implement. But only one is really sustained. And during this presentation, this workshop, I'm gonna take you through our vision, my vision, as to why this is the case and why so many implementations are just unsuccessful. By doing that, this may be also a guideline, a roadmap for yourself and for companies to see how you can do this in a better way. So here we go with the statement again. So what is, according to you, the most important reasons why operational excellence implementations do fail? So you can put in some words, you can log in again, or you probably are still logged in. Else, if you have not, you can log in at slido.com RTI and just put a word here. So this is an open question, so I will see a kind of word cloud, and you can enter multiple questions if you like. Long-term planning. That's a very interesting one. I get certainly back to it. Focus of implementers on the tool itself, not the system at hand. Lack of management commitment at C-level. Lack of time of specialists. Management changed. Fatigue. I guess fatigue of doing all these type of different programs. Takes too long. Very interesting. Get back to that one as well. Lack of commitment. I get back on that one. Great. Great. Okay. If you look back to the research again, then you see here in the top three, lack of senior management commitment. That's definitely one why these type of implementations do fail. Lack of change strategy, I saw that as well. So a long-term vision on what are we willing to achieve with a lean or an operational excellence implementation. And the runner's understanding of lean, that is part of the tool someone put in the chat. If you're just focusing on the tools and you don't understand why you're doing these tools for, then you have a wrong understanding of lean. What is quite interesting is that many companies are trying to copy Toyota with lean implementations. And Toyota has gone through 80 years journey or so for these type of for their Toyota production system implementation, and so 80 years is a long period with a lot of change and a lot of adjustments. And a lot of other companies try to accomplish the same in just 1 or 2 years. So that's a little silly to think that that's going to be successful. Okay, so what is the key to a successful implementation? So let me go through the chat again, questions again. So every individual in my organizations can explain how their job adds value to the customer. So we'd appreciate if you can score again on this one. Great. The high score on a 4 is a little unusual. What you see is that that in the organization, usually not a lot of people can explain how their job adds value to the customer, which is a little silly because the customer is eventually where you do it for. He eventually buys your product, your service, whatever, and in fact he takes care or she takes care that that your salary is going to be paid. Okay. Other statement. In my organization, every individual can explain what the strategy of the organization is. Now here comes the poll again. Yeah. I'm very curious about the person with the 5. This is extremely difficult. This is what you see quite often in organizations, that people are in the organization cannot explain the strategy of the organization, which is silly as well. Like the former question, if you would like to people in your organization, your workers, your managers, etc., to make sure that they contribute to the strategy of the company. Yeah, how could they do so when they are not involved in knowing the strategy or cannot explain the strategy? Get back on this one in the next story. Thanks for answering these questions. So let me go to a story about Boston Scientific. Boston Scientific is, for those who don't know, is a medical device company. And we have gone through a trip to Ireland with a couple of my colleagues. And as part of that trip to Ireland, we were visiting Boston Scientific. And the beauty of doing these type of trips as an operational excellence professional is to go to shop floor. So we went to the shop floor of a production line, and they were making their stents for the heart. And when we were talking to one of the operators, and in fact most of them are ladies, it's very precise work to assemble those little small stents, very small pieces. And she was the first lady on the assembly line, and we were asking what she was doing, did she like it, what was important for a job, and so on. And she said, "Well, I have quite an important job for 2 reasons. First of all, the quality of my work is being translated to each of my colleagues. So if I don't deliver quality, it means that all of my colleagues are creating waste. And at the end of the line, we need to take out that stand. So quality of the source for her was a quite important reason for her to indicate the importance of the job." So very good answer from that lady. The second thing she said is, and she showed me a very small thing, a kind of bolt in that stand, and she said, "Well, if this bolt gets stuck, then it might up into the heart of the patient, and as it gets loose, the patient might have severe bleeding or even die." So wow, this is quite something that you reveal here to me. I said, "Why do you know this? How come you have all these detailed things about your work and your product?" And she said, "Well, each year all operators are asked to go to the operating theater together with the surgeon to watch an operation of an implanting such a stent, to make sure that all the operators understand how his or her activity job brings value to the patient and the risk of producing improper product." Great story, I think, and the aligns with the former questions. Here you have a lady who understands what the value of the customer is, in this case, value of the patient. And here you had a lady who also understands her role in the strategy and her role in the line of production. In fact, everyone in an organization, whether it's a production organization or something else, has internal clients and internal customers. And what you see very rarely is that proactively people move to the next mode in the line, being the customer, and ask their feedback. Hey, how did I deliver this product? How do you get this information from me, and do you like it, or can I improve, or vice versa? People are complaining internally a lot in companies, but they're not going quite frequently back to their internal supplier and give them feedback how they could improve on making your job better, basically. Okay, the next one. Research reveals that indeed, on average, 95% of companies are unaware or do not understand the strategy of the organization. And when we go to customers, when we do assessments, there's quite an easy way to find this out. You can ask employees whether they are able to explain the strategy in their own words. And own words is very important, as it says a lot about the real understanding of this. And then you can observe or ask it quite easily. And I can assure you, this 95%, even if I would be asked, or if I would ask the same thing in my organization, I also get difficult answers, difficult people having difficulties to answer this one. So just give it a try and see how you can improve on this one. Okay, let's move to another statement again. For each large improvement project, how many small improvements are implemented in your organization, you think? This is quite typical, that people believe between 10 and 100, mostly on the low side. This is interesting. If you get back to Toyota again, master of lean, I would say, it's one of the rules of thumb at Toyota that they make a statement that for each large improvement, 1,000 small improvements should be implemented. That's significant, but I'll give you the background on this in a later moment. Okay, then another story of one of our customers, Barco. Barco, you might know them from devices and optical devices like this one. This is a large projector. This is a high-end projector for cinemas and so on. And we were in a gamble walk in the shipping department of Barco. And typically, their high-end projectors are shipped via air freight. And they typically ship one projector on each pallet. It's a very expensive equipment, as you might imagine. At some point in time, one of the operators in the shipping department was asking, we happened to be there, which was lucky. Why aren't we shipping more projectors on one pallet? Because there's room for more than one pallet. Maybe we can push 4 or something on that. I'm not sure. He said what the rules are on weight whatsoever. And well, it was a good question, I believe. And everyone was looking to each other and came up with arguments, but in fact, no one really knew. They said, finally, let's give it a try, because yeah, if we don't know, maybe we overlook something while upon doing that. And apparently, there was no constraint whatsoever there. So the result of this was that they gained 2 million euros per year on air freight costs, because these were all on air freight. And yeah, amazing thing that something very easy to change was not discovered. And this was what got also up to the CEO, of course. And in first instance, he was in fact quite angry with the fact that this was only discovered so late after many years. And he was asking himself, yeah, we are having so many good engineers, and why was the organization so busy with other stuff and nobody thought about a simple thing like this? And yeah, I understand his reaction, but it's not the type of reaction we'd like to have from a CEO. He should have the behavior of showing a lot of appreciation for the person who finally brought it up, rather than saying why this is not why this was not discovered before by other people. This is how things go in companies. What is quite important to understand is that when they start talking about other type of small improvements, and they came to the conclusion that any small improvement could end up at such a saving, and that hence any small improvement is equally important and needs to be embraced. And this is something I get back to based on that Toyota question as well. It should be recognized that this is a small improvement. There's a short improvement cycle. This is not a big black belt project thing. The result is impressive. The result is large, but yeah, it should be noted that this is a small improvement in terms of thinking about types of improvements. Let me go to this slide, which explains a lot, I think. So the most important insight of the Barco case is that you need to have a good balance between improvements of different magnitudes. So the large improvements, those are projects, I already call black belt projects or so, are there with the intention to have breakthroughs. So you do them solely for the output of that improvement. That means that you make a business case, an assessment, you assemble a team, you have good project management and whatsoever, and then you deliver on that project. For the small ones, however, you are more interested in the number of implemented improvements. So that you focus on the result of it is not so important than just having the number of improvements. In fact, Toyota counts not the outcome of all these small improvements, but counts the number of implemented improvements. And why is this? This is because with small improvements, the result is that people practice to identify and implement improvements all on themselves. So if people practice every day, the resistance of larger improvement is much, much smaller. And people are starting to feel to become autonomous about making improvements themselves at their personal level. So they take out small issues, fires, whatever, from the organization to avoid that big problems are becoming present in the future. So people should not be hindered by being measured, controlled by the results of the improvements. They should be able to freely improve, in fact, and that's an important message. If you start to just try to just measure the importance of the value of all the improvements what it brings, you basically slash the operators at the lowest level who usually kind of dead with not doing any improvements anymore because they might not be important anyway. And the Barco example is a good example where it was shown that even a small improvement brought up could bring huge value eventually. This is one of the most important insight I've gained and for operational excellence the past 10 years. So you need to balance your larger improvements. That's creating your ROI, your money basically. But you also have to train your muscles. You need to and you can do that with all these small improvements. In order to create a culture of continuous improvements, you see that you must. You have to make sure that everyone, every day, every time, make sure that improvements are there. But you need to balance them because if you have just the cost part, then at the end you have gained your low-hanging fruit, but nothing has changed in your organizations. If you only do the bottom part, then management will not appreciate it at the end either, because eventually we'd like to improve to become more relevant in the business and be more competitive and gaining money. A way of measuring this might be interesting is KPIs and KBIs. Everyone knows KPIs. Everyone has a balanced scorecard or something alike, a dashboard with key performance indicators. KBIs are much less known, and a KBI is known as we call it that's a key behavior indicator. So if you, for instance, the number of improvements, if Toyota counts the number of implemented improvement proposals, that is a KBI. And the beauty of a KBI is that these are leading indicators, where KPIs are lagging indicators. At the end of a period, you look back into your performance with your KPI dashboard, and then at the end you say something like, my performance was not good enough on this and this and this aspect, and the next period you're going to steer on that one. So that's all. Most of the KPIs I see are lagging indicators. A KBI is a leading indicator by definition. So you create, you like to improve the behavior of people in such a way that KPIs are moving into the same into the right direction, and That's an exercise we do frequently at customers. It's a difficult exercise. So the idea is that if you have a KPI, that you try to see what is the type of behavior we'd like to have, the ideal behavior or desired behavior in your company, to move the KPIs into the right directions, and to express the difference between KPIs and KPIs. It's a little silly if you're just looking in your your rear mirror, driving your car. Yeah, then you understand it's going to be risky, of course, at the end. Great. My last statement here then. In my organization, people see leaders see employees as experts. Oh, that's the last question for the last poll question. Okay. Couple with quite high scores, which is interesting, which is good as well, because that's the way leadership should see their operators, of course. Very nice example is this Doug Conant here. Doug Conant is former CEO of Campbell Soup, chairman of Avon Products. And he's a strong believer that you can only win the marketplace if you win the battle of culture inside your own company. And he's known of having written more than 30,000 thank you notes to people, to employees. Not sure about that number, not sure whether the story is right, but it's a good story, right? Because he appreciates people. And he said, yeah, basically the only thing I have to do is walk around, see what people do, and compliment them for their work. And that's great if that's the type of leadership you have in your company. Great. So what do world-class organizations different? So here you see on the bottom line, people trying to implement the operational excellence initiative, lean initiative whatsoever. At the end, they think they have done it, and yeah, everything is falling apart basically. A few companies, though, that's a 1 out of 10. I mentioned in the beginning, are there in the top row, in the top line, and so they keep on improving their results by doing things right. So what is this doing the things right? So what we usually do is we use the Shingo model. It is a holistic framework. It's a recipe, what we call, for sustainable and successful transformation. And according to this model, sustainable results can only be achieved if the change is embedded in your organization through the culture and behavior of all your employees. And I go into details of that model. And so maybe let's start with that directly. So if you look at this, the Shingo model is a little different in one aspect compared to all the other frameworks like TPM, world class manufacturing, etc. Shingo states that the only thing being important is culture, and therefore culture is in the heart of the model. And one of the learnings inside in my OPEX career is that culture is not context. It's not something which is there and cannot be changed. It is something you can create. In fact, you can define it quite easily by stating that the culture is nothing else than the sum of all behaviors you observe. You can observe, coach, manage it in your own and others' behavior. If you look at a couple of insights from this model, ideal results can only be created by ideal behavior. So excellent, sustainable, and this demonstrable results over time will be there if you have the right behavior in your company. Another important insight is that purpose and systems drive behavior. In the word cloud, we saw people mentioning that people are maybe too much focusing on tools, and if you don't understand why a tool is used, then yeah, you're just using a tool. I see in many of the operational excellence implementations, you see that 5S is something which is an interesting tool which is used quite frequently in the beginning of an operational excellence implementation. But if you don't understand what 5S is, what it means, and you don't drive it through the real 5S, people only go to the first two S's usually, then at the end it becomes just a cleaning tool. And you see that an operational excellence initiative might start with 5S, and at the end it becomes just a cleaning tool, and yeah, lean operations, lean implementations really stops there. A bad system will be the good person every time. It also means that if you know your behavior, that you can start thinking about what types of system, I'm not talking about a computer system, what type of system would drive that behavior into the right direction. All of us have bonus systems in companies, as an example, and a bonus system could be a good system if it's designed well, but if you design it wrongly, then you see that behavior of people who are getting bonuses might not be the one you would like to have in your company. So I have a supply chain background. So you see in supply chain management that a lot of people have bonus systems on cash, on inventory management, etc. Yeah, if you have, I've seen many examples that COOs or CEOs even um, are starting to sell materials, sell products by the end of the year to make sure that the cash position at 1st of January is okay, because that's part of their bonus. So bonus systems could be quite disruptive, is my experience. Principles inform ideal behavior. So if you have a couple of good principles, which are universal, timeless, clear, they will also deliver the right results. The good news is that the Schengen model has looked upon this, and so they have defined which type of principles you have to get a high performance culture and a high performance organization. So you don't have to invent them yourself. I will go through these principles briefly. I've checked them in many occasions. We do these type of assessments and improvements in service companies and make industry. I do it in production environments, in financial environments, in office environments, and it works everywhere. So that's quite nice to see that. So here you see the principles. So on the bottom end, cultural enablers. You see that the Schengen model is divided in three parts: enterprise alignment, continuous improvement, and cultural enablers. I get to those. In cultural enablers, very simple principles are there. Respect every individual and lead with humility. Humble leadership is something which is extremely important. So if you would like leaders to go to the shop floor, great, but they should do so by make sure that that they're not going to teach people how to do things, but to listen, to go into the dialogue on the shop floor, make sure that they start understanding the problems of the workers at the shop floor, giving them the room to improve, to do things differently, and give them also a kind of I say that kind of freedom, a kind of safety, that they can say basically everything to their bosses. Sounds very natural, sounds very logical, but yeah, look at your own company. I think that these type of behaviors of leadership are certainly not common yet. Another thing is continuous improvement. Continuous improvement, the lady of Boston Scientific, assuring quality at the source. Seek perfection, so never be satisfied. The word continuous improvement already says it, of course. Embrace scientific thinking, which is important. What you see is that quite frequently companies or leaders make decisions based on belly feeling, while especially in this new digital world, there's so much data available. So if you are able to transfer that data into information, base your decisions also on those data. Six Sigma, as part of Lean Six Sigma, has great tools and great thoughts and methodologies to work in a scientific way, and that really helps to make your business better. And then focus on the process, very important. And then enterprise alignment, that's an important one. Value for the customer, I discussed. A good way could be that you have workers visiting customers to understand how their product ends up at the customer. Gives a lot of buy-in from the customer, but also a lot of understanding for yourself on how you can improve your products or services. Constancy of purpose is a very important one. I saw fatigue in the word cloud before. Fatigue, maybe I hope I interpreted well. If not, I'm sorry. But fatigue on different types of programs. You see a lot of change programs coming in organizations, and if you see that that you change a program, you have a change program with a new fancy name or whatsoever every year or every other year, then people don't buy it anymore. So you have to be more constant in what your vision on what your horizon vision is on your horizon. So it's don't change too much and too quickly on that. Yeah, and think systemically is very important there. So Boston Scientific example of suppliers and customers. That's one thing, but it's also the thinking horizontal of vertically. So thinking about the discussion about the question I posed for strategy. How well do you understand the strategy of your customer, of your company? And if you like to contribute to the strategy, then you also have to communicate top down and bottom up. Top down your strategy much more frequently in all types of communication sessions you're having, and repeating is extremely important. And I know from experience that people are very motivated if they understand what their specific role in the total radar scheme is, so that they know what they can contribute and how they contribute, and know what the performance brings to the customer and to the company. It's extremely motivating for people to do this. So here you see that back, and you have understood meanwhile the stories. This is the Shingo pyramid. So enterprise alignment, that the whole Boston Scientific story tells everything about what the Shingo model says about enterprise alignment. Barco is about continuous improvement, and Campbell Soup is about humble leadership and the way leaders should act in companies. Maybe a few examples. Very Americanized, maybe. Shingo Prize. Shingo is an institute. We are a certified Shingo affiliate. Shingo gives prizes, medals, silver and gold and bronze medals for companies who like to see what their performance and operational excellence is. And we always say a gold medal, a gold Shingo medal is the Nobel Prize for operational excellence. Goes quite deep. It goes into different types of aspects of your company, but it also looks how the culture in companies are to make sure that you have year-on-year improvements. An interesting one is Rexam. Rexam, also called Ball Corporation in the past. Rexam produces these small beverage cans where Coca-Cola or whatsoever is in. And they have maybe 30 of these prices in different departments, different factories over the world. And here you see a couple of improvements they've made, and that's interesting because it's not just an improvement on throughput rate, for instance, not on fixed costs, but you see on everything. You see it on mean time between failure. You see the incident rates improving. Fixed costs is going down. Spoilage is going down. But also your stakeholder satisfaction goes up, and your operational efficiency goes up year by year again. And this is one of those companies lasting for more than 8 years, having done operational excellence improvements or implementations. And it's quite powerful if you do this all over the line in all aspects, not just a manufacturing organization. That you see these type of improvements. And I say manufacturing organization, operational excellence often feels like we have to change the operations. But operational excellence, we tend to call it as maybe as enterprise excellence, and that's what it is about. It's not just about operations. It's a little silly to think that you improve your operations and the rest is not important anymore. Barco is also interesting in that example. You see that the cycle time of projectors is in 4 years is by all types of initiatives well implemented initiatives. You see that the cycle time of projectors, which is an important one of them, was for given this high cost projectors. Has decreased to 25% of the lead time, cycle time in 4 years. It's quite impressive. And here you see nice ideas about their KBI scorecard. So number of accepted improvement proposals and number of implemented improvement proposals. And then you have also the number of Gemba walks done by management. And this is interesting. I don't have the figures for 2016, but here you see that the number of Gemba walks decreased after 4 years. So they saw these good results and they think, well, we're there, we have done a good job. And so they got a kind of easiness on the Gemba walks. The number of Gemba walks decreased, and directly the number of improvement proposals decreased as well. You can't see it here, unfortunately. But this is really something which was there. So yeah, that's also a constancy of purpose. If you agree that this is an important behavioral indicator for yourself and that management has to go to shop floor, then you should keep it there for a very long time. If not, you will see directly that your results get back again. So then maybe back again on the elephant. When you chop up the elephant, yes, it might be better digestible, but it also means that your operational excellence program might fail. So you have to see this as a holistic program, a holistic approach with all elements. And your OPEX program has no chance to become successful at a long time if you don't take all the aspects of the Shingo model as an example, but looking at leadership, looking at improvement, looking at the value for the customer and constancy of purpose. If you don't have them in your company, then you take just one element, then at the end, it doesn't end anywhere. So just having your leadership behavior at a different and a better level will be great, but won't help you at the long run. It might be better digestible, but when you chop the elephant, he dies, of course. So that's the end of the presentation. And before really closing, I would like to go into a little workshop with you, and not with so many people as I thought. So, but we'll do it anyway. What I would like to do with you is looking at behavior, because as I said, behavior is the key of culture. Said culture is nothing else as the sum of all behaviors. But what is behavior? And behavior is a very powerful thing, because behavior is something which is if you know what really knows what behavior is, it's the same for everyone. So behavior is something, it's everything you can see a person doing or hear a person saying. It's by definition observable, it's measurable, and by different people described being the same. It's not an emotion, not a feeling or attitude, and therefore behavior can be managed. So quite often, if you people are making interpretation when they see something on a person. I give you a couple of examples in a minute, and you understand what I say, I guess. A good way of doing this is by making a sentence who verb context, which means, as an example, leaders. That's the who goes to the work floor regularly. That's the verb to understand workers' issues. This is actually a behavior. So you can, as a person, you and I, if you look at the leaders, you can see them actually going to a work floor and do that on a regular basis. We can actually see that. So that's an example of to describe a behavior. And please keep this in mind, because the small exercise I would like to ask you to do later on is based on this one. Maybe some examples. Uh, in a face-to-face chat, I would do this and ask you questions. So I'll make it a bit less interactive. I'm sorry for that. So what do you see here? You can say, well, there's a lady who has pain in her stomach. That's full interpretation. You really don't know. The only thing you can see is that there's a lady who sits on the couch with her hands on her belly. That's the observable behavior part here. Another one is here. What do you see? You can think about this is a girl doing a test for school with a lot of concentration. No, that's interpretation. You don't know what she's doing. Maybe she's at home, not at school. Great concentration. You really don't know that. This is just a girl with hand holding her head and having a pencil in her hand. And this one is maybe the most interesting. What do you see? Most people will say, I see a very angry man here. But that's interpretation. Yeah? You really don't know. The only thing is, you see a man wearing a jacket and a tie, raising his right hand, holding his cell phone in his left hand. You don't know whether he's angry or he has different emotions there. So emotion is something you interpret on people, but you can't really judge upon that. If you get back to the ideal behaviors in the Shingle model, I give you a couple of examples, and I'll leave this on the screen later on for you. In culture enablers, managers facilitate and promote team building to create commitments. That's an example of an ideal behavior. The formal one I had here is also in the same line. Leaders go to the work floor regularly to understand workers' issue. It's also a good behavior, ideal behavior for people in the domain of culture enablers. In continuous improvement, employees make fact-based decisions, having collected data. Remember the quality at the source thing, etc. So, and an enterprise alignment, a good behavior is that employees and management cascade company goals down to the shop floor via standard meetings to get clearly aligned priorities for everybody. So I hope you grasp what I mean with behaviors and ideal behaviors. And the beauty of having these ideal behaviors or behaviors well described in your company. And if you do an exercise with your team, management team or whatever team in your company together, it really helps to understand what type of behavior you would like to have in your company is. Because if you know that type of behavior, then if you know that people that managers have to facilitate team building, or that managers should go to the shop floor, then you can make sure that you try to manage that behavior and try to measure that behavior. And by doing that, you see, I have a background in chemical industry, for instance. If you do a Gemba walk on safety, safety is extremely important in a lot of industries, but for sure in the chemical industry. Yeah, if leaders are not coming to the shop floor for doing a Gemba walk on safety, then people won't understand the importance of safety at the long run. So being there on a very frequent basis as a manager and looking at safety and try to understand why safety is as it is and try to help people to improve on safety, that's the type of behavior you would like to facilitate in your company. Well, the idea is following. Would like you to go into breakout rooms, to lounges. I guess the organization will pull up some lounges. We don't have too many people, so I would say culture enablers in the first lounge contains improvement in the second lounge and enterprise alignment in other lounges. Each lounge will have 8 seats. Would appreciate if you keep 1 seat free to allow me, my colleague Arthur, to join and help. So and to discuss ideal behavior in your breakout room. So every table to take 1 host, and try to define ideal behaviors for your team. So how does it look like in your company? How is culture enablers envisioned in your company? And what do you see that that type of ideal behavior would be for your company? Then choose best examples from your group, 1 to 3 maximum, and put them in the chat, and I can read them aloud and give my comments on this one. So give you 15 minutes max to come back to the main room, and so please put in your best examples in the chat. And this is the normal etiquette for a work group: focus, listen, speak up, share outputs, and have a little fun. Might also be good for you to meet each other again. So can the organization help me opening up lounges for 10? Great to see the people going back, and I'm now realizing that I might not have my camera on in my earlier conversation, so I'm sorry for that. But you can see me now. My camera was on backstage, but not on stage, I guess. My presentation is visible again. Can someone confirm that to me? Okay, perfect. Thanks, Taviani. Hey, I see my slides are not, then I have to share again. Okay, now it should work. Perfect, yeah. Great, thanks. Sorry for this. No, the group was too small to really break out in these 3 sessions. So, but we had an interesting discussion on my lounge anyway. What I would like to do then is, since we're not having a lot of ideal behaviors formulated here, to give you a couple of examples. Let me do this in a second. So discussed culture enablers. I'll give you a couple of more examples. This is managers facilitate, promote team building to create commitment. Another one is managers pass by the desk of their employees, ask questions to connect and show interest. And then personally and sincerely, we discussed this one as well. If you go to the Gemba, don't audit, don't tell, but ask. Managers give compliments and show recognition for long term. proactive improvement ideas. So you show appreciation to people, very important. Managers perform gamble walks and ask what can be improved regarding safety to enable focus of the employees on safety. So just a couple of more examples to help you properly. Continuous improvement. The first one I discussed. Team leaders regularize stand-up meetings. We discussed employees make fact-based decisions after having collected data. And employees are present in daily stand-up meetings to create a continuous improvement culture. We discussed in our group the importance of routine. Stand-up meeting, a daily stand-up meeting is a routine. It's very helpful that people get a routine of being there every day again and help each other on improvement. And the last one on enterprise excellence. I discussed this in my presentation. Employees and managers visit internal customers, suppliers to understand expectations of others' reality. Employees and managers cascade company goals down the shop floor via stand-up meetings. And senior leaders organize cross-functional strategy sessions to explain company's department strategy to all employees. Could be a very helpful one as well, because then people are understanding each other in a better way, and then cooperation in a company, horizontal cooperation in a company, can be enabled there as well. And then group leaders and employees work at least one day per year in another department. That's also a way to help that people understand each other in a better way. So last thing, only thing of real importance is that leaders do is to create a managed culture. If you do not manage culture, it manages you, and you may not even be aware of the extent to which this is happening. So that's my the end of my presentation. And curious whether there's still some questions going on in the chat or comments.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to see if there are any questions. As usual, Leon, very, very insightful. Unfortunately, the audience number dwindled. I don't know why. So this is, but this is what happens on a virtual platform. It's a sort of state of affairs. Yeah.
No problem.
But what's the good news is that this is going to be on our platform as a video that people can watch later on. Also, I think there will be people interested in sort of continuing the dialogue, or at least have a dialogue with you. So more than happy to make those connections here as well. And let's see if there is anything else if you'd like to share from the audience. I'm just trying to see if the people, there are any questions. There are chats, but no questions. Great presentation. Sari has already asked for a connection.
Yes.
So good. So with that, I would then sort of wrap up this session here and then move to our next speaker. But before I do that, as usual, as I said, your sessions are always insightful. It's bad luck for the people who didn't get to see it, but at least every time this is something that I always learn. And I'm sure people who did attend learned from it as well. So thanks a lot both to Leon as well as to Arthur for taking our time and spending it here. Yeah, we'll share the video as and when it's ready.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anupam. See you next time.
Yeah, see you.
Hey, bye.
Bye. And now we're going to move to the next topic. The next topic is we have a keynote speaker, Caroline Lam, who's the Senior Vice President at Philips HealthTech, and she's going to take you through the formula for driving operational excellence within organizations. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put our hands together. First for Leon van der Doof for his sharing his thoughts, and Caroline Lam to come up on the stage. Thank you.